The print, 6th of September 2023, India carefully monitors things as China and Bhutan get closer to drawing their disputed border. China intends to capture a crucial choke point as part of its offensive preparations against India as part of its all-out war against that country. The decision by China and Bhutan to expedite the demarcation of their disputed boundary may have strategic ramifications for India. This is because the plateau where the troops of India and China engaged in a heated standoff in 2017 is one of the regions. Due to China's unlawful takeover of Tibet in the 1950s, the two countries are at odds over 764 square kilometers of territory in northwest and central Bhutan. There have been 13 expert group meetings, EGM, and 24 rounds of negotiations between the two nations on the subject. 3 of the meetings have taken place this year. The two nations formed a joint technical group on border delimitation at the 13th EGM, which took place in Beijing from August 21 to 24. The group met for the first time during the EGM. China and Bhutan agreed in a joint statement to move forward swiftly and implement the 3-step roadmap that was previously agreed upon to expedite the boundary negotiations in stages. The print explains the border dispute's historical background, strategic importance to India, and current status of the negotiations. The history of the conflict and significance of Doklam. Bhutan and China are separated by about 477 kilometers. A boundary dispute arose when China invaded Tibet in 1950 and refused to acknowledge the border between Tibet and Bhutan. The highest watershed principle, used to draw international boundaries in mountainous regions, had been employed to decide this up to that point. China also took control of 8 Bhutanese enclaves in Tibet during its military campaign 1959 in response to the Tibetan uprising. Since then, the Jakarlung and Pasamlung regions in North Bhutan and the more well-known Doklam region in West Bhutan have been the exclusive subjects of discussion between Thimphu and Beijing. But in 2020, Beijing unpredictably claimed control of the Sokdang Wildlife Sanctuary, which borders Arunachal Pradesh and is situated in eastern Bhutan. Doklam is the issue that India is worried about. While China views the Doklam Plateau as an extension of its Chumbi Valley, the wedge-shaped land between Sikkim and Bhutan, India regards it as an uncontested portion of Bhutanese sovereignty. It ignores the strategically significant Siliguri corridor, which connects India to Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh and is the entry point to northeast India. The plateau is less than 10 kilometers wide and has an approximate area of 89 square kilometers. Beijing values Doklam because of its strategic importance, even though it claims far more territory in Bhutan's northern region. China has gradually taken over small areas of Doklam, and in 2017, it began building a road that would go to the strategically significant Jampheri Ridge line. However, on June 18, 2017, Indian soldiers intervened to create a human wall that would stop Chinese laborers and earth excavators from working on construction projects. Global powers carefully watched the standoff, which lasted more than 2 months and raised regional tensions. In the end, China agreed to stop building the road and retreated 200 meters, while India returned to the Doklam post, which it had maintained for several years. China has been building extensively on Bhutanese land, as the print reported in 2019. India is concerned that China may seize Doklam during negotiations to redraw Bhutan's borders. According to India, China's claim to the Sokdang Wildlife Sanctuary is part of its plan to exert pressure on Bhutan and seize control of Doklam. In an interview with a Belgian daily earlier this year, Bhutanese Prime Minister Lotay Tshering allegedly stated, "Doklam is a junction point between India, China, and Bhutan. The issue cannot be resolved by Bhutan alone." China-Bhutan dialogue. First-round boundary talks between Bhutan and China took place in 1984, according to a 2014 statement from Bhutan's foreign ministry. The two nations signed the guiding principles on the settlement of boundary issues and the agreement on maintenance of peace and tranquility along the border areas in 1988 and 1998, respectively. These agreements have served as the foundation for subsequent talks centered on preserving border security and the pre-1959 boundary status quo. China continued to push a package proposal that called for Bhutan to acknowledge its western claims, including Doklam, in exchange for China giving up its 495 square kilometers of northern allegations beginning with the 7th round of talks in 1990. However, the National Assembly of Bhutan rejected this idea, and the Assembly's future session similarly revealed a reluctance to exchange. At the 24th round of negotiations in Beijing in 2016, it was declared that significant progress had been achieved and that the two sides had jointly finished surveying the disputed regions. This year's 12th EGM took place in May. Even with the goals at this meeting, including a desire to hold future meetings more often, the 25th round of border talks has not yet occurred.